know.
Jerry's in town.
Who?
I think Jerry's in town.
Oh. There's a J for some reason. Who's J?
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. First item will be the meeting minutes of June 13th and approval of the meeting minutes. Did people have an opportunity? Was there any issues, or does anyone have any comments on the minutes, or do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded by anyone?
Second.
There you go. Next item,
Are we gonna vote on
I just have
What's
it
that?
here.
that? Are we gonna vote on that?
I wasn't, but.
No. Agreed.
Have we passed? All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Yeah.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, so moved. You're welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for keeping me in line.
Volunteer.
Okay, next item up for bid on The Price is Right is, you don't have to put that in minutes, by the way.
Good.
I put it in quotes
Yeah.
and attributed it.
Yeah. Is the, yep, Development of Public Art Project. So, here we are. We finally made it to the moment we've all been waiting for. And that is to start the process of procuring a piece of artwork in a location. Well, we gotta pick a location first, I believe. Do you have the, master plan, page 58? Look at you.
Yes.
Yes, you do too, of course, yes.
I have it all.
So, you know, this is gonna be a little bumpy at first because we're all figuring it out together. I know as much as you do, you know as much as I do. So, Christopher might know. You've done this process before, so you've done this process before?
Well, I think
It's just so different. than
Yes.
what we did before.
Stacy
Yeah.
has and Jerry has and I have,
Okay.
I think.
Well, I think the difference between the position we're in and, let's say, a public art commission, which is based on a 1% project, which comes from a very specific construction budget for a very specific site, is site has been narrowed down at that point. And the subject matter of the site, whether it's medical examiner's office or the courthouse or some such thing, sets a tone in some degree for content and the approach that an artist may or may not take at that site. And working without that limitation or that focus gives us room for that bumpiness, which is good bumpiness.
Yeah, I do too. I would agree.
The only thing that I would be hopeful for is working with an artist or artists, since we can, to identify site.
I'll work the other way, instead of site first.
If that's possible, and we don't have a very, very strict procedure outlined for ourselves, which I think we did purposefully.
Yeah.
Knowing that we want to be responsive and engage community members as much as we can.
Yep, I agree, and we knew we weren't sure how it was all gonna play out as we started to do it. I think was also a reason we.
But I believe in having some stricter rules for process along the way because it makes your life easier and allows the public to engage and be aware of what we're doing together and just keeps that stuff going.
Okay, so, the first item is placemaking outcomes, but, yeah, to that, I mean, does anyone else have an opinion in regards to, you know, the methodology? So we have placemaking We have places that have been identified. Yeah, I mean, frankly, I'm at a loss for words, to be honest with you, which is unusual. So, does anyone come into this, aside from what Stephen's already stated, or sorry, Christopher has already stated? So dealing with Stevens all day. In terms of how we approach this, or, you know, strict adherence to exactly the words here, or do we want to pick a place? Do we want to look at an artist first and then have them help us choose a place? Is there any opinions? Go ahead, sir.
Well, I had a thought that kind of is in line with what Christopher said, which is, I think in some instances, the location can dictate the art, which would dictate the type of artist that we would solicit. So, I mean, I think both routes are good, like find an artist and look at sites, or find a site and try to see what artists think can be done with that location, whether it's installation or like those rolling hills that, you know, someone showed an image of. I don't think either of those options are wrong.
Okay.
I would agree that neither option is wrong, but I feel like we have so many sites in Merriam that it would be fun to choose a site and then see what artists would do in that environment.
Hey, Jared.
But that's my very honest opinion.
Well, and I think based on what you two have said, I think that would be a more streamlined process and probably easier for the city.
I don't know, I will offer that as an inaugural rebirth, because we did this before. But as an inaugural reinvention of the project, saying, hey, we want to work with artists in our community to identify a great site for our first thing, and make that bumpiness part of the first project and its engagement. But it's more than we're looking for this place, and because that is more focused, and I think requires less handholding.
Jerry, you're gonna remember exactly what we did before with this site. Well, weren't you were also there, weren't you?
Not when, no.
Yeah.
I mean, not when.
You came in later?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I came in when we started working, right before the community center.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, in my memory, we had a blackboard, and we wrote we didn't have this.
Keep
We
going,
wrote the
yes.
sites down and, voted on them.
Uh-huh.
And it came up with a agreement between the group, and it was hard to even make that a agreement. I mean, there was a lot of, chatter. But do you remember exactly what
That's,
happened?
I think, yeah, we voted on that. We picked the site at Merriam Drive and Johnson Drive. That's the first one, yeah.
The Still Time was
Right.
the very first
Before
one.
we did a call for artists, right, yeah. And then they came and looked at the site, gave us a proposal.
Yeah, that's a tricky wicket. I'm just thinking out loud, guys, so bear with me. We have a list of, we had ways to contact and reach out to artists. Do we have any specific artists that people have been thinking about out of curiosity? Just strictly curious. I know that we do, and I know some of us do anyway. I don't, but I know some of us do.
But we haven't done like a call
No, we haven't.
for artists, which we did before.
Then I think it's summarized as, in your terms, a local artist.
Well, I think there seems to be, and this is just from memory, this group hasn't had this specific conversation, but there seems to be a preference for working with local people. Not a restriction.
Yeah, just
but,
preference.
We like favoring our own community.
Mhm.
We like people who know our community, whether
Mhm.
that's a county or in our city. Elected officials always like spending money locally, although these elected officials haven't been ham-handed about that. I think as we define and determine the selection process, how to favor someone locally if they meet all the other criteria is a conversation we need to have.
So then that still means we're looking at, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're almost simultaneously looking at a few spots as well as putting out a call for artists and looking from those artists locally accountable ones and make them a part of the process of picking the site. Is that what I'm hearing, or?
Loosely, I think if that were the project, like, hey, we're putting out a call for artists and here's part of the criteria. You're gonna help us choose the site in our community for our.
If we do
reward
that,
process.
if we ask people to select different sites, we're gonna get wildly different proposals, and it's gonna be very hard to choose among them.
Well,
I think it's in our interest to choose a site. We know the city.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah.
hearing that. I wouldn't advocate asking for people to submit a proposal for wildly different sites. I'd ask artists to submit their materials, identify a site, and then propose what they might want to do in a specific place, so.
I think it's
Just to
the same
clarify
thing.
my understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like two ways to get to the same thing. We can pick the artist first and then we choose a site, or pick the site and choose the artist. It's like, just pick one and do it,
Two
you
ways
know?
to peel
Yeah.
orange.
Yeah.
I think that, the master plan laid out the sites
It did.
very well. I just
Yeah. and
read
like
it for the
survey.
fourth time,
Yeah.
and
And
there's
then-
a lot of sites here,
Yeah,
and personally, I think it worked to pick the site and then call for artists, and it just worked really well, I felt, to bring them in, and I think the other way would be very confusing, and I just think it's already laid out.
Well, I think in our master plan, because there's such a vast difference in types of sites, and we talked about murals, and then we talked about installations, I think we kinda have, I mean, we could be surprised and find a building in downtown Merriam, and a sculptor comes up with an amazing,
Mhm.
like, option, but we also might not luck out that way. So, I think we have to kind of consider the site a little bit at least,
Mhm.
like, we can't have the option of a mural or a building and an open field, and expect that all artists can.
All right, so let me be a little clearer,
Sure.
because I think there's a misunderstanding about what I'm suggesting, and I'm not trying to hammer that home, I just want to get clear about what my
Sure.
suggestion was. Asking artists to participate in selecting a site is first a request for qualifications. So you're looking for an interesting artist or
Right.
artists to respond to your call. And in conversation, maybe with a group of semi-finalists, we have 4, in conversation, a site is identified among them or by them. And then proposal is made specifically to a single site, so that this group isn't being asked to evaluate a mural versus
Sure.
some plop art thing in a place. It is more, and it requires a little more energy. It's not just naming a site and finding someone to put a thing there. So if that extra energy isn't desirable on everyone's part, it's just conversation. So-
Right, no, I totally get that, and I kind of, I smoothed that out before I made my comment, but I think we would have to be really careful to let artists who respond to our RFP know that you're part of a selected group, you're or you might not be selected for this, but you'll still be in the running. We have 4 more years of picking sites and so, because I think it would be a lot to ask an artist to, come and join basically in this brainstorm of where this, like, submit your work. I guess I keep losing track, because you're saying submit your work and then we might choose you as an artist, and then later on
And
we
then
would.
it becomes about a project.
Thank you, sorry, yeah.
Because of what?
About a project,
Ah,
and
yeah.
they're looking at our pre-approved sites, not just
Yeah.
randomly walking around the city.
My point is still somewhat valid, but I've had a hard week and I feel like my brain isn't fully working right now.
I think there's a lot of us that are in that boat this week.
Oh my god, yeah.
More comments? Anyone thinking, just think out loud. Again, this is a beginning conversation to how we're gonna proceed with the next steps, and then we'll narrow it down and probably wanna vote on how we wanna go to the next step, so.
For me, and I have done installations, it helped to have the site. And that's the only way I've done it, and I've done them in Europe. And they give me the site, and it's streamlined and effective, and that has always worked for me. And at this point, I feel like something should be streamlined. Something should be streamlined. I mean, just to
Yeah.
say, let's make this process 5 more steps.
Yeah, I feel that like a lot of times projects, I prefer projects that sort of have limitations. And I think a lot of, we might get a whole different set of artists if they know that they have to be part of a like site picking process, you know, not that it's better or worse, but you might, if you present it as, here's this site, show us what you got, versus here you need to be part of this whole process, it might give us a whole different set of people, you know?
Yeah.
So again, it's like, 2 ways to get to the same thing.
I guess I have a quick question. I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I have a friend who is a sculptor who came from KU, and it's very John Havner-esque, and he's adorable, and so like, it would be fun to see what he would do in one of the like, grassy locations, and then, I also have friends who don't do murals, and so it'd be fun to see what they do. Like, I guess my quick question, but here's the thing, those definitely cost completely different things. Like, like a mural, like, okay, I don't really know what a running cost for a mural is, but let's go ahead and say like maybe $2K, like maybe more. Oh, okay, well, my friends are on the cheap then. My friends are real cheap, by the way. So I guess, like, but then the metal piece obviously has more to think about, because you have like kind of the construction and like making sure that it like stays in place, and like, so that's that maintenance, and so that's a little bit more than the mural, right? So my question is like, did we have a schedule for like how we wanted to get these, like, we wanna start, like, we're gonna do like 8 murals, and we're gonna do those over the course of 8 months, just kidding, that's insane, but, like, is that what we're here to do tonight, or is that,
No.
is that something like,
No.
okay,
No.
So, because Christopher's, like, initial thought then is kind of interesting, because then you can kind of get an onslaught of artists and like kind of slate them that way, like, we kind of have all these sites, we have all these different walls, we're kind of looking for artists, guys, throw in your name, right? And then we kind of have this like file folder of like people who've been interested, but then like maybe we can go and be like, okay, we're gonna do this site, and here's are some of the artists that we kind of think might match along with that site, but then also like, again, cutting everything into the same place gets us to a cut orange.
Go ahead.
Say logistically from the city,
Mm-hmm.
The funding for this committee and any future projects is in the the 5-year capital improvement program, which started last year in 2023, so it goes through 2027. And we've only spent the money for the consultant to do the master plan so far, so it's not like a set amount each year. There's $550,000
Over the course of 5 years.
over the course of that time.
Oh, okay.
So that's the,
Oh my gosh, you guys, we've got like this.
So,
Yeah, there's
I mean, I guess,
There's
so,
money.
that was one of
Or
my.
do we wanna buy that Chateau and brand and just move there?
So, and logistically, I mean, your idea is creative and interesting, and I like that. I see a lot of logistical issues with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of a broad spectrum of things. I think we're gonna have enough time managing one. In terms of our own personal time and our own
So-
mental acuity to actually execute in a way that makes everyone mostly happy.
yes.
Well,
And additionally to that, like, I know we just hired a consultant to do the master plan, we can hire other consultants to help manage the things that you guys want to do, cause
Also comes out of the budget.
It comes out of budget as well, right?
yes, it also comes out of the capital improvement budget.
The more we don't do
Did we
ourselves,
get an
the less money we get.
You don't want an independent thing.
Yeah, no.
I don't think,
You need someone that knows how to put out an RFP.
Yes, and is
Okay,
familiar with the art world and can help vet artists like that. I know the plan suggested having a full-time staff member, but that
yes,
is
the.
very unlikely to ever happen.
I think council, was not in favor of that approach.
No. They made it very clear.
So get me as other duties as a
That was
secretary.
quite a bit of money too for a full-time person, right? I mean, that was written into the master plan, right? The possibility of
The
another
idea of
consultant.
having
The
one
idea,
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea
yes.
of adding another full-time employee.
Yes.
And which is not something that,
No,
yeah, we should explore.
it was an option.
Currently, it's not on the table.
Not on the
It's an
table.
option.
So I think it's gonna be a balance of subject matter expertise represented.
Hey, guys.
What was it?
Mine was just throwing out more ideas. Could we find it like a Masters of Art student willing to make like our town like their thesis, and then we could use them as a consultant?
One approach.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna match our subject matter expertise conceptually with the subject matter expertise represented on city staff as necessary. And Lauren, facilities, and others, so that, and when we don't wanna impose on city staff is when we need to take it out of budget to have someone managing that process, or hiring a vendor who can kind of lift it and pull it away, so.
So ultimately, that brings us back around to, because I'm trying to take full advantage of our time for this particular session. Sorry, first of all, do we have any more comments in regards to how we want to start the process? I don't think everyone's had an opportunity. Yeah, please.
I'm wondering if there's some kind of happy medium where you're not just like doing all of them at once or just one of them at a time, but like if you could open 3 sites at a time for bids, so that the artist could maybe have a choice of 3 different areas, what speaks to them most, and make their proposal based
And like
on that.
present, they
Yeah.
pick one and present something for that site.
Which gives you more of a wide range of artists, I don't know.
Interesting, and it serves the purpose of not making decisions for artists
Mhm.
and letting them orient
Yeah.
themselves toward something that's
That's an interesting idea.
more
Yeah.
harmonious.
That kind of ties into the let the site dictate the art.
Mm-hmm.
Ties into what, I can hear you.
Sorry, that ties into my comment about letting the site dictate the art.
Mhm.
Well, we've got a wide variety.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these, you know,
Right, so
That
if you
would
open
be-
3, you could
yeah.
do 3 very different areas.
Or at least profit them as a, maybe,
Mhm.
instead of activating 3 projects.
The, that's fine if we don't think we have a theme, right? To do like a scattershot approach. And I'm thinking that we haven't really explored that, really what exactly we want to honor in our city, what we want to, accentuate. We haven't really explored if that's one of the things that we wanna do, right?
Well, that was
I
what I
agree,
was
yeah.
kind of thinking too, is like, what if we collectively talk about, you know, what placemaking outcome we want? And that would help us identify if there is a site or multiple sites that could do that, or that we would want to see art that could do that. And I mean, that's kind of how Julia laid it out in the plan, as, you know, think about what placemaking we want to happen, with this, with any piece, but specifically this first piece. I think we have a unique opportunity to kind of rethink about what we've, you know, done, and like, we only have a certain kind of type of art
Sure.
for the most part, so like, what is everyone's thoughts on like the placemaking, and like what the, you know, I don't know, everyone wasn't at the first thing I came to when we had the artists come talk about, you know, Native American and Indigenous people's art. I'm like, you know, we have a rich history of that, so like, is that something that we wanna look at from like the history standpoint? Sorry, you changed pages. I have on my iPad, so like the history aspect, or, you know, is it city identity, or is it wayfinding? I mean, maybe not wayfinding, that doesn't seem exciting to me, that's what I do every day in my full-time job. So, you know, what's the placemaking? Does anyone have, not to speak over anything, Sean, but like,
No,
does anyone have like a placemaking?
I'm just put in a position and I'm not in charge necessarily. We all are. And I see us all as having equal things, so.
Stacy?
Yeah.
I've always been immensely confused with placemaking. And I wouldn't mind having that discussed up front
Sure.
soon. Because, I mean, when Todd went into that and set it up, Jerry would know more than I would.
Who's Todd? Oh,
Boyer.
like the first.
Boyer?
Yeah,
The
well, we always talked about placemaking, but it was, this city seems to resist it. No, I mean, not the, I mean, the physical aspect of the city, you know, there's not, except for maybe like the marketplace and, well, a few places along Turkey Creek. There's no real, like, gathering place, there's here, but, so I think that was always, we were always struggling a little bit with that. Yeah.
I mean, my observation through our entire process with this master plan was that we were looking a lot for her to help us, you know, find ways to answer those exact questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you're right, we haven't had a conversation yet internally about what our feelings are on what those places are, et cetera. So I hear what you guys are saying. Knowing that this meeting would be a little messy because, you know, again, we're all trying to politely and efficiently get our opinions out there without the offense of anyone else, right? So, I know I don't know, I know I'm rambling, guys, but you know,
It's your style, man.
it is my style, yeah, so.
Run with it.
I like the idea of figuring out, let's look at some places and let's talk about what the heck placemaking even is, right? I'm good with that.
So, Jen, are you suggesting that placemaking as an idea is just opaque to you, or in this
No,
particular
it's-
instance, you did that, or what?
No, I know at the get-go, that when, Todd started this, he had a clear idea of what he wanted, but I never could understand, he never really said what it was.
He may not even have known.
Maybe.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I think they always,
Also,
I think he was always mildly disappointed in our choices.
Yes, that's.
Right?
that's-
Without really offering
He was very
anything, without
disappointed.
offering any solution.
Yes,
you know?
that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would caution, like, let's not talk about what happened before on the committee, let's talk about what's going on now, and
Yeah.
exactly.
personally, from my take,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like, I think it's sunsetted for so long that like, and we maybe all have different feelings about how the first committee was ran, and so like, you know, let's talk about it as like all of us here, and like, this great master plan we have, and like, I also was just looking at like, I know that not a ton of people did the survey that Julia put out, but like, I think it's important to kind of call back, as a council member, call back what the public has said too, of like, you know, locations, themes of the art, so I'm just throwing my hat out there.
Yeah.
Online survey,
100.
like 330 or something, so it met the.
Is that the
I couldn't remember the numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm even like public, other survey right now.
The public open house was
Yes.
attended as
got
they
it.
always are.
I still feel like I'd like to know more about placemaking. I mean, however we wanna approach it.
Well, since you have opened your gap, my dear, can you say, from your perspective in that chair right now, for you, what would placemaking mean, since you voted on approving this plan and are now called upon to help?
Well, as I said, no, I can't, I can't. And, it doesn't hurt to at least acknowledge the initial idea, and why this was started. But it just always confused me. And, I can't explain it. Someone might.
Placemaking for me is an esoteric thing that is, okay, you pick a location and you talk about themes or a thematic idea that fits your locations, your city, your whatever it might be, your building, and you're looking at places that can speak to the community to fill those with artwork or whatever it might be, which is what we're here to do, correct? So, I think coming back to location, or what I'm hearing is there's a lot of challenge with how we're gonna do this, right? We all have definite opinions. So I would say we go back to, let's use the exact framework that's in the master plan, and then we can adjust from there for the next project. So, this particular plan, step one is, sorry, my brain just stopped. Yep. Pick a site.
Or sites.
Or sites, yes.
And
Okay, I have a
placemaking.
suggestion. Isn't there like a big party in Merriam next year?
There it
Is
is.
that too quick of a deadline for that to be like our first limitation, like, let's focus
Get it.
something around this birthday?
75th.
Yeah.
Um,
To give us something to start working towards, because if we sit around for 30 more minutes, we could get nowhere,
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah, no, I
So it's
agree,
like,
100%.
is that a doable deadline? Does anyone think? Who's done it before?
Is it October?
Yes.
It's
So
this
it's a little
coming
over a
October.
year.
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's
it's the-
2025.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Thank
can,
God.
Yeah, this October, not possible.
yeah,
That-
yeah.
18 months then?
So,
Or like,
Maybe.
which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, why
It's a
not?
small, it could be a small project, it could be, it has, impact, et cetera, et cetera. Now, in that scenario, are we looking at choosing several sites, and then we have a call for artists, and they pick those particular locations? Is that what I'm hearing from the group as a consensus, or what am
I prefer
Crazy.
picking a site ourselves,
a single
honestly.
site?
I mean, that's
not-
what I
not
prefer,
multiple
but,
sites,
or
a
yeah,
single site.
that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, we can do like a vote, like raise your hand.
Well, that's what
what
I'll
you
do, I'm
think.
trying to get an idea of what I can narrow
Yeah.
a vote down to before I
Or
place
go
a
to
vote.
a survey.
I think
And
I
get
would
a lot
also
of
be
comments.
kind of
Because I
excited.
survey
Yeah.
as well, the location.
Go ahead, Dan.
I think that's a great idea. I think that then kind of tells us what the site would have to be if we're thinking that there might be a gathering there. But I also think it'd be a huge injustice to make this decision without including the people in the city who are maybe in the process of already planning an event, because then we would be dictating to them where their event is gonna
Oh,
happen.
we have plans for it.
I don't think it has to be
It's not.
tied to the event. I
Okay.
think it's like
Yeah,
a-
yeah,
it's
I
like
wasn't
a
necessarily
weekend.
saying
It's like
that.
a different celebration.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, I was more saying like,
That was our
it's,
75th celebration.
Yeah,
Right.
We made this sculpture.
it's unveiled like
Okay.
near the same time, and I don't know.
It is a permanent installation.
Yeah.
It could be a temporary exhibit honoring this theme.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually like deadlines.
Mhm.
And it works for me,
Yeah.
works
Yeah.
for you.
Well, I can see.
Okay, works for you.
You
It just,
It gives you something to work toward, it gives you
You
like
know?
something to write on your paper, like, okay, that's the thing.
well, and it also gives you a chance to say, I can't do this right now, I'm on a deadline.
Yeah.
You can
Okay, so does
reply
that seem
individually.
doable?
Oh,
What was the
sure.
timeline for most?
No, I do like
of
that,
the
I do like the
projects
idea.
last time?
I do think it would be helpful to have, kind of be thinking about it being made, just if we're, and maybe the first one, maybe our first one is more about Merriam and the anniversary.
Civic identity.
Yeah.
History.
That's great.
Yeah.
Two placemaking outcomes.
Yeah,
When they were saying 75 years ago, Merriam was founded, right?
it was done.
Incorporated.
Called it
Incorporated.
As a city,
Yeah.
yeah.
Formally organized.
What was here before?
It was still
in-
Merriam,
it
it
was
just wasn't
here.
formally organized as
It was
government.
unincorporated.
Campbellton.
But it changed names like
I-
to Merriam in like
Yeah.
1890 or something.
Has everyone read the history of Merriam book?
Yes. I have.
Thanks, Billy.
Represented in the work
I have a
of
copy.
our city.
Oh, I've read it.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Yeah.
That and picture
We need a
farm.
statue, we need a statue of U.S. Grant.
But there's
High
definitely
five.
a lot of history that we could look at in Merriam. Not a lot, but we've got a fair amount of history. So maybe we could think about what aspect of history we want to explore.
Yeah.
Well, I'll throw something out, because I think it's time to, honor, the desegregation case with South Park School. And I think it fits well with the history of the city, and I think it's past time that there's some commemoration of that.
They did just do, and this is part of the library, so not the city 100%, but there is the mural in the library, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And sorry to take over. The church is going after a national historic designation that where the school was.
Already listed in
Yeah.
the state
Right.
register.
It's listed on the state historic register, but now they're going after a national designation, which is huge for them. So that's,
Which they may get.
I'm worried that it's gonna just cause them to have more limitations for construction, but yes.
It is only a limitation when you're seeking incentives provided by the National Park Service.
Right,
And Technical
so,
Preservation
yeah.
Service and the state historic.
So hopefully we get it open in February.
Yeah.
So Brown Park is across the street.
Right,
from-
it's not listed on our places or
And
sites, but
Have you seen those plans?
yes, the renderings that,
They are
Yeah.
optimistic.
yeah,
They're ambitious.
they're really beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Jer-
that'd be amazing.
Jerry, what did you have in mind?
What did I have in mind?
Yeah, did you have something specifically in mind?
Well, I was thinking that there would be a nice, a piece of art. I was thinking about how, in Topeka, Vanessa German's done a piece, commemorating the Brown versus Board of Education. And I thought it would be nice to have some sort of personal, something of a personal, my mind's working like everybody else's, some sort of permanent, and beautiful and inspiring.
Okay, so, two things. You're not taking over meetings, that's what the city council is here for. Secondly, so I'm trying to find the route out of this meeting, right? Not to get out of it, but what's our next steps? I
So
like
could
being
we,
here.
could we all look at the sites and maybe everybody do their top 3? All of us do that. And then maybe everybody throw in a theme or something of that sort. Let's narrow this down.
I have no issues with that. Let's also think about timeframes. So if we're going to do that, that needs to be submitted pretty quickly to Lauren and myself, I would assume.
CC.
Yeah, CC'd, so that we can move forward pretty quickly. Because if we're really wanting to have something by, which I'm hearing a consensus on something for the 75th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Where and what is still the question, correct?
Well, is Brown, I mean, would Brown Park be possible, since if we're thinking about, you know, that anniversary, that aspect?
We don't have to stick.
I don't think it's on the list.
No.
I just pointed it out.
Is there an issue with possible flooding at that location?
If there is, we should tell them to keep that in mind when they're making the.
Right. Make it flow.
They're working on that drainage project right now, so I
Right.
think it should
Right.
be taken care of by this summer.
The only reason I asked was, I had mentioned to Parks and Rec that it might be, they temporarily put, soccer goals there when they were working on another park, and I thought it was a new location for soccer goals. And, they mentioned that they had hesitancy in putting permanent things there because of the possibility of flooding. So it might be worth looking into.
At Brown?
Yeah. The part the area that's, the westmost part, the undeveloped part that doesn't have villages and stuff.
Are you talking about the area near the church?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I will say most of our parks exist because they're floodlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So just something to consider, but I mean, if it's a sculpture and it can be up on a pedestal that raises it another 4 feet,
Yeah.
like, it's probably not an issue.
I'll figure that out.
Right. So the homework that I'm hearing is that each person will choose 3, is that what I heard, the top 3? And we'll assess those and we'll move forward with one of those.
Top 3 locations?
Yeah, that's what I heard,
And the theme.
and a theme.
Lauren, are you gonna start this off by sending an email to everyone that they can individually not reply all to you? Okay,
Sure.
okay.
That would be helpful, so I have something in my inbox to remind me to do it.
That's what I was
And
thinking.
give us a
Yeah.
deadline.
Okay.
And we
You
don't
can do
give
this
enough
as
to
a
do.
survey, so you don't have to.
That
But
would, what other?
type it.
Yeah, what other
Yeah. Right? I mean,
Survey.
I mean, but what if there's sites that aren't in the master?
There could be another.
That doesn't matter, does it?
It could be a write-in.
That's what I was
option for
yeah, that's what I was
survey.
asking.
because
And
I-
with Google Forms.
I did have some sites, especially this area, that I thought it'd be nice to have something here in the front, I don't know.
Oh,
So,
You mean
the
inside?
lobby?
yeah,
Okay, can we do it indoors?
I have,
Or is it
I'm
public?
asking
Anywhere
that,
we
I'm throwing that out.
In a
Can't we?
city-owned building.
we can do anything we want.
What?
Yes,
Yeah,
in a city-owned building.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
Like
so we
community
can't have
center.
like a rooftop on top of IKEA.
No.
No, yeah, rooftop patio.
Too many air conditioners.
Yeah.
By theme, who said theme, I can't remember.
Numerous people.
Everybody.
By theme, you mean a theme, 3 themes?
Well, like, for example, his theme was for the, Brown versus,
Brown
yeah.
versus, okay.
Desegregated.
So history,
Yeah, South Park School,
CC,
yeah.
Rocky Keyboard.
But you can have
The
3
prehistory.
themes,
The
right?
prehistory of Brown.
What's that?
Yeah, huh?
Okay.
I'm sure the form
No
will
one's
tell you.
gonna, no one's gonna,
What form?
give you
Oh,
a
I think she's
numeric
gonna
form.
send
Send out a form.
I'll make a Google Form.
But I mean, you could have 3 locations and 3 different themes, right?
I would think that that would be acceptable.
I mean, I just like said that,
Um,
it can be whatever.
Alrighty.
I think that it
Three's
would be
good.
wise to try to have these to her within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that she can then let us all see those results, so that we can make a solid, course of action in our next meeting in August. So that we're not dilly-dallying.
And I think we need to prepare for conversation, because I've heard 2 things here about artists responding. One is you're responding with a proposal for a very specific thing, and we wanna hear what you're gonna do, and you're gonna do all that work for us free up front. It's one approach. I prefer to identify.
No, they don't
artists.
do it for free, I mean, they.
Yeah, we give them a stipend.
They have a stipend.
I think we're talking about 2 different things. I'm not talking about semifinalists, but if people are submitting a proposal for a very specific site on a very specific theme, aren't they proposing a specific work?
We did something different last time. So, and I loved the way we did it last time. I know there's thoughts about how we did it last time, but I loved the way we did it last time when we did the community center, and it was a more transparent, public facing, you know, everyone could see what we were doing. So we hired a consultant, they put out an RFQ and asked for artists to respond. They gave us like 3 of their former bodies of work, and
Right.
then we like rated them based on that. And then there were 5 semifinalists, and we gave each of them a
So you're
stipend.
not asking them to do original
Right.
work.
No,
it's a
we're
submission.
really,
That's
we're
what I'm
asking
getting
them
at.
to
Right,
fix
right.
that, and
We did the
that
same
was
thing
trying
on
to
the
clear
county
up.
side.
Yeah, and so we would like, it wasn't that they were necessarily putting any like free work into it. It was like giving us their resume,
And
why we
some
should
artists
choose
just do
them.
that, they know your site. and
Right,
they
exactly.
just
Why
say
we
this
should
is
choose
what-
them, those things. So there were
Right.
some questions that they had to answer, but it's nothing
Understood.
more than like a Google form.
No, I prefer that approach
Yes.
because it's.
Yeah.
Right, I don't, as
Are
a,
you qualified to do this?
as also a
thing?
designer, I would never want someone to be doing free work, especially when they work for themselves as an
Right,
artist.
yeah.
So that process worked and everybody likes it.
Yeah.
From what I could
Yeah.
tell from digging through documents, the first one was done pretty similarly.
Yeah,
Like,
I just don't
It
have
was
any
just-
insight, yeah.
artists responded to an RFQ and it was like, here's their resume and portfolio.
We
And
could
then it was selected down, like, these people are qualified.
We could put
Make a
stipulations,
proposal.
like, we did a nationwide call for the community center project, but you could, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of like, let's work with regional or local artists. There's a lot of people here that know our land and our people better, so maybe we put a stipulation of local or Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, you know, Midwest, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spitballing, but maybe that's something from what I'm hearing from everyone.
And I agree with that.
When we had a discussion really early on, like what is local, what is regional, we kind of said like a multi-state area, but here in the Midwest, so.
And that avoids someone sending drawings to Machine Head to make things you could order from Wayfair. Attached to the side of, I don't know, like, county building in the neighborhood.
Would it be crazy to get to fill out the Google form within 2 weeks, right? And then you get the results of that, and then could you like regurgitate the results, and then we like vote down even further? So
We would,
that by
vote-
the
we'd,
time-
we'd have to only vote in the August meeting, we can't do that outside of the meeting.
Oh, I meant like have options that we vote down even further, so
Nope,
that the.
can't
do-
No,
no,
oh, okay, no,
it has to be
okay,
public.
okay.
Okay,
Sorry,
public at a
That's
meeting.
Has
illegal.
to be.
Illegal.
That's
Yeah, it
like,
is,
you're
yeah.
creating an open meeting when you do that, and it's part of the Kansas open meetings, and so, yeah, so we can't do that. It has to be
I
public.
can share the results though.
Correct. And
But
then
you all
come
cannot
prepared.
And then we
Communally
can, yeah,
discuss.
then we
Can't
can-
talk about
yeah,
it
we can-
as a
Okay.
forum
Yeah.
until that next meeting.
Yeah.
yeah.
So go dark and public.
I mean, you can have you can prepare like your thoughts of like, well, I don't think that's a good idea, even though everyone else did, or like, you know, like,
And,
like,
and,
yeah.
and you could have a conversation with a single other person as well, within this group, just the two of
But
you.
not serially.
That's
Okay.
correct.
I'm not,
You can't talk to Jordan and then go until Jan.
We could like make it
No,
sound,
we
go
could
and get
keep
down and
it.
just maybe be talking about like 3 things
No,
versus like.
sorry.
I think you,
Yeah.
You can't have more than like half the people.
can't.
right,
Right.
that's
Yes.
it,
Right.
half bit.
Right, okay.
It's definitely the half
And you
bit.
can't
Rule of
have
public
a
meeting.
conversation with Jordan and then go tell Jan what Jordan said.
Okay.
Don't.
You
That's
can't,
a
you
serial-
can't
You
do
can do
that.
that. No.
That's a serial meeting.
I don't wanna know.
Correct.
Lauren, do you wanna remind everyone what makes a quorum in this group? How many?
We are, how many of us?
Nine.
11.
Nine?
But they're
But
not
we're not
voting.
voting.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's right.
So
You
that-
should talk to us.
So
I
five.
think.
So 5.
Yeah.
Five.
So
Five is a
4
quorum.
or less can communicate together at once.
But that's
Yeah,
why you
again,
don't reply all to
you
emails,
gotta be
because then you're
careful.
having a meeting,
Yeah.
not
Please be
publicly, cause the public should be able to hear everything we say.
That's right. That's right.
No.
No, we face fines as a city if that happens, that's all. So,
And lose trust.
and lose trust, that's correct.
I would like a field trip to South Park and the church at some point. I keep thinking, we were out there a long time ago, but we haven't been out recently, and I think field trips are nice.
To prevent having to call a special meeting, we'd have to visit independently.
Or
Well, or in groups of 3 or 4, you know,
Yeah.
we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Or like, like the park,
Straight, quietly.
Art
the
club.
park board has also been meeting at different parks, like in the city as part of their meeting, like they're holding their meetings like at, right, was that like last fall that you guys were doing that?
Know your parks. We
Yeah,
go
Know
and
Your
have a
Parks,
picnic
yeah.
and then meet.
Oh, nice.
So that could be like, get to know our
Yeah.
state.
We
Yeah.
can
Great.
schedule our meetings
So everybody's
wherever, as
right
long
now.
as
Just
I
not
tell
in the middle
people
of the
where
summer
the
when it's
meeting is
happening.
Not like now, yeah, not next month, please, yeah, maybe not September.
Okay, so, the takeaway, and I don't feel like we needed a vote for anything, that, because got mainly a homework.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, thank you, for receiving that information, compiling it, and letting us know what that information was. Everyone, please, if you don't have something in within 2 weeks of today, you are excluded from sharing your information.
And I would like to ask
Yeah.
anybody who's participated in these kind of projects, if you have a favorite venue for finding out about opportunities, whether it's a Facebook group or a call for entries, or if there's a site that the city has used in the past, let us know that. Some of those are rather expensive by subscription, and some of them are less expensive and available to artists free. And we, of course, don't charge a fee for artists to submit, which is great. But if we want a broad call, let's broadly get in touch with everyone through as many means as possible, and we'll have to centralize that because the city will need to issue that call. Then we can share the city's social media posts, but it needs to come from them,
Don't
the
go
city
rogue.
originally.
Don't go rogue.
No rogue calls for artists, or no calls for rogue artists.
Okay. Is everybody clear on what's occurring next? Okay. Lauren, yes, please. So,
When
you
I
have
survey you
several.
all about locations and themes,
Uh-huh.
would you like me to also question you about the artist eligibility? Or these other things that we need for our,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
budget, schedule, artist eligibility and selection process.
Sure.
to get,
Yeah, why not?
Just
see how
With it.
concise we
Yeah,
can
that
get?
that would be good.
Yeah, why not?
Alright,
Should we be concerned also about whether any of these artists have worked with a municipality before, or
Yes.
a committee?
Yeah, that's a great
It's helpful to know. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a restriction, but it just points to how much handholding finding is.
Right.
I've never liked that being a requirement, because then you get corporate artists.
Right.
Yeah, but it is a nice question to have answered without, you know,
Because it's a thing, if you've never worked with the city process.
you're gonna be a little
put
freaked
that
out.
on our
That's
queue.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any other questions?
No.
Can we move on to the next item? Which I think is, that would be any updates?
Okay. Just a few things I wanted to share with you guys related to the arts, starting this fall. We'll go look. Sorry, what did I do? The city is partnering with the, Johnson County, the Arts Council of Johnson County to do this Canvas Collective Arts Workshop thing that's once a month, and then participants' work will be displayed in the Murphy Art Gallery in January. So it's something new and kind of cool and different. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. This is the next issue of Highlights. It hasn't gone to print yet, but
Sneak preview?
yes, sneak preview will be delivered to all Merriam residents at the end of the month. So
Okay.
cool. I think that's already live on the Art Council's website, so people can already start registering.
That's great, yeah, I'm glad we're partnering with them.
Very cool.
So is that part of our budget or?
No, that's something that the community center is
Okay.
Parks and Rec.
coordinating. So yes. Thank you.
Great question.
I mentioned before that I'm working with our Visitors Bureau Director on putting together a public art tour on the AutoCast app, which we already have a history tour on. We're like making great progress on that. We're hoping it'll be done and ready to go maybe by like September. So
You should tell us, I think we should all have to do it.
yes.
I think that'd be
You guys might be our testers before we start publicizing it, just
That's
to make
not
sure.
a bad idea.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
I love it.
There's that, so we can work out any keys to it and all that, so this is why I've been digging through old documents and just we're gonna, try to contact some of the artists to get them to do voice recording of their artist statements.
Sandra does that.
Yeah.
And he'd be good at that.
He would,
Yeah. That is one of the components of that act, like there has to be an audio component, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And then our 75th birthday party next year, plans are still in the works, but one of our ideas is to have a live artist at the event itself. A handful of people have been at various events where that has happened, and it's always been very cool. We don't have anyone in mind in particular, but if you guys know of anyone who does things like that.
That's outside of what this
Yeah,
committee is doing, so you're just asking for.
Yes, advice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's the whole circuit of people who do that
Yeah.
for events and as entertainment.
Yes.
Do you like an actual art piece creation during the event, or like performance part, or like?
Yes and yes.
Okay. Curious.
We're very open right
Yeah,
now
I'm
to
just-
any ideas.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
like, I think it started with probably more of like a conference type of thing where an artist was like documenting the conference
Mhm.
on a giant board.
Mhm.
I've been to like a live mural battle in Denver. It's like two different teams of artists that were battling, and they had like 2 hours to create an entire, like, I don't know, 16 by 8 mural. It was
Well,
super
if it's a
cool.
battle,
Right.
the winner has
Our
to
winner
choose
is
how they want it.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was an obvious clear winner. One team
From
was-
your perspective.
One team was freaking amazing, and the other one was like, what are you doing?
Wow.
Anyways, it's an idea that we have that we're working on, if you have any ideas.
So costumed reenactors of Campbellton, including the bear.
Ooh. Bear pit reenactors.
The bear pit.
Thanks.
So is there like a theme of the party, the 75th party? Is there like a decided thing?
City.
Okay, so it's just like a
So
birthday
each
party?
department is gonna come up with their own activity. So I think the police department's gonna do like an obstacle course. Yeah. Public Works will have a
Yeah.
like
Oh,
kind of truck.
God, start working out now.
They're chasing you while you're running through it.
Yeah.
You get through with your green without spilling it.
That would be, ooh. You guys are so creative.
We could have the live artist create a piece that is then our piece
Oh, okay.
that we.
Done and done.
I wasn't totally serious.
I don't use our budget for that.
I've got a birthday party budget.
Pieces of art.
Actually, I've mostly seen those to create a piece that's auctioned that evening. They're bidding
Oh, we
on
did-
it as it's being created.
So somebody, when this came up, somebody had been to a wedding where there was a live artist and they were making
seen those.
sketches of guests at the wedding
Oh,
and
yeah.
printing them off and giving them like a thing to take home with them. So
But not
this
a
morning,
caricature artist.
not a caricature artist, no, like
More
more portraiture. So yeah, we talked about coming up with some way to make it last longer than just the night, like if it's a postcard or something that's more than just the one day. But-
Could there be horseback riding?
Oh my.
When we were little, on West 55th Terrace, which is a U,
Uh-huh.
it was closed off on both entrances, long before you were born.
I'm just listening.
And we had ponies, and we got pony rides.
Okay.
Cool.
It's an idea,
Huh.
no liabilities, I suppose.
I mean, I guess we do like
Hire pony
pony
rides.
rides at Turkey Creek Festival, don't we?
I don't know if they are ponies, but there's like a bird trailer last year that was bizarre. So
A bird
Yeah.
trainer?
trailer, like you could walk through this trailer that just had all kinds of birds in it.
Live birds? or-
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
it's
remember
taxidermy.
Oh, like taxidermy.
And like they would like,
Yeah.
it was weird. My daughter went through it with my husband because I refused to go in it. Sort of, yeah. But they were like exotic, but like parrots and like, you know, like,
Not
The
just
pictures of them were
steroids.
great.
yeah.
Steroids.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then finally, the one-page short summary version of our master plan is in the works, and I will share with you guys once our designer has time to make it pretty.
Yeah,
So,
Great.
That's great. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
it.
And hopefully that'll help us like consolidate this.
Yeah, or any
Think about
of a number of organizations, whether
Yes.
as the 1% occurs or doesn't occur.
Mhm.
That gives them an opportunity to have a quick reference guide, et cetera, so yes, I
Yep.
think it's well
It'll be
worth
helpful.
our patience.
So thank you for all you do, and let us know how we can help you do it better and do it more.
Amen.
That's all I have.
Okay, any other business from the floor, anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Welcome back, Maggie.
Thank you.
And is it good to be back? I mean, Kansas is special.
Yes.
The sky is special,
Yes, yeah, in every way,
and it changes.
yeah.
And I think what I missed being away was the sky.
Yeah, I miss the variety of weather here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're back.
Thank you. It's good to be.
All right, anything else? All right, I would, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So,
Thank you.
We are gonna get play reps. We are gonna get
How you
play
doing,
reps.
Julie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, it's getting a little burned up, but we're still we're gonna let it start to get a lot of vegetables. Well, we've gotten through asparagus season, so now we have to eat cucumbers every day.
I usually like let stuff
And we
die
have a lot of
down,
Swiss
and then I'm
chard, and
like,
we're
I'll
gonna
try
have
it.
buffaloes and tomatoes.
Yeah.
And peppers, which
Right.
is really good.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah, no, I really don't.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes if you ought to walk.
That's what I keep.
Yeah, I do.
On my desk.
I keep wanting to print one of mine.
I'm never up early enough.
Hi,
Do you want me to bring you a copy?
I'll come out, I'll see, cause I'll get behind there.
Good to see you.
I'll wait.
I love, especially, I love like hearing our reports on.
Yeah, me too.
I know, because I mean, when I have your
Julie.
And we went to culinary that day.
You did again?
Put it together, but I didn't
Jeez.
completely put it together until like we were on the art committee, so.
They catered
I
your
love
wedding.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's
And
all
Lawrence.
too. So, like,
It's a great,
I
oh,
know.
it's a really great small restaurant that's very,
Yeah.
yeah, it's well aware to the,
Okay. Yeah, it has been a
I
great
love
team.
the speaking of the Bronze board,
He's
West
a-
relates
he's
to
a-
the potted cast.
We like food.
That's really
Right?
wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you
and
want-
the
Oh,
Her
food.
name
I
is
know.
The
Renee.
people's history of Kansas City.
Oh, you know, I always think that I should listen to them.
Reagan,
I don't do
Reagan.
podcasts.
Reagan.
They played it on, I
Oh.
can't remember which show it was, but it was on
But it's a
WR one
good
day when I was in the
restaurant.
car,
You
and
really-
I
yeah,
read the
yeah.
article.
I can send it to you.
Yeah.
You have to have a reservation,
It's-
the
they
hours
talked
are
about
very,
Oh, okay.
That was
limited.
like the main.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I have, it's been,
Yeah, it was about the
Probably
web
years
relay
ago.
and, Sprout.
No, we go a lot.
Yeah, that's an idea. I think there's a lot of
It's like
lines,
cried reading it almost, cause I was like,
Yeah,
oh my god,
I know.
this is where we live, like, you know.
I liked
it's-
your idea too, that you
I
sent,
didn't know that.
last
So
year,
are you gonna be
you know,
Yes, yeah.
roadway or sidewalk way type of thing.
Yeah.
But then I was talking to your place and they don't like that because it's distracting.
Distracting for driving.
Yeah, yeah, I get their point, yeah, I mean, I liked it, I was.
No, and
Also,
also,
we don't have a.
you know, it'll be unique, certainly if they-
But I get their point, yeah.
I don't have any.
All we're doing is other focus.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
did get my
Well,
classes,
Remember it
it's
well.
been a couple of
Yeah,
months
and we
Oh,
should
so-
do
I was
but
so-
I know I'm
so-
supposed to fix things.
They do have a
I was like, what did I miss?
Clearly you missed something
Yeah.
good, yeah.
It's a gallery
That's really
class,
funny.
and it's like 3 hours.
I don't know that I wanted that one.
That's
Oh,
so
nice.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, 10 a.m. here.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for it.
That's
Can we get like an
right.
artistic dome over the city and a dehumidifier?
Well,
An artistic dehumidifier, right, yeah.
A lot.
I mean,
Just give me the budget.
you could probably fill a fountain with all the water. I mean, humidifier the water.
Should be something, I mean, it's great that they're
And I
doing,
think
you know,
they've cut
trying
back,
to
they-
rebuild the church and stuff, but I think there should be
They've
Yeah.
official
I
recognition.
agree with you as well.
Yeah.
They did.
There is like
The
a
art history was
plaque there.
absolutely.
at the
Yeah,
church,
but
it's not, and it's
something
Yeah,
that people
yeah.
will see.
It's
Yeah.
not a,
Yeah.
it's not.
Oh, we were talking about art history.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So.
I wanna back off.
I'm just gonna see if
Oh,
there's-
yeah, I've got that
You
book.
got that one?
I've
Okay.
got it, my dad had it. My dad had it.
What'd your dad have?
A book.
Historic Merriam.
My dad has it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Mayor.
Have you
No.
sifted through it?
No.
Anyway.
This is the old historic Merriam book.
Did you have
Oh,
any
okay.
ideas that you wanted to share?
No, I
Feel
didn't.
free to speak
Put
out.
together by Irene.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's right, yeah, oh, yeah, I've seen, I don't think I've ever.
It's got like historical maps of the county dating to like 100 years ago.
Yeah,
And it's gonna get
yeah.
worse.
The
I've been
And I
asking
gotta
them.
travel.
Oh, no, I haven't seen this, I think maybe I've just
Parker
seen.
Grove neighborhood,
Yeah,
the old amusement park. Well, you didn't call it amusement
I
park,
go to
it's
upstate
something
New
else.
York for most
That's
of
awesome.
work.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, oh yeah,
Which is
but I
bad.
survived.
Oh, look at that Kansas City
And,
shirt.
I work for Black and Decker.
Christine
Uh,
was
network and
Lincoln
cybersecurity.
Valley,
and
Merriam.
That's good, but, yeah, I was trying to figure out where the, I don't know where
Big
that.
engineering firm
Is
in
that-
Wesley, but my
And
brain was
she's in
saying.
jewelry.
Is that on Johnson? Is that
Yeah.
on Johnson?
Across from the Game of Ice.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Across the
okay.
street
And,
from, so it's got a little
she's doing
historical
a.
facts. I just noticed, there's no
Yeah,
mention of
she's
interest in
doing
like,
Yeah, I'm
uh,
at.
like, isn't it like,
Business.
you know,
Yeah.
his great grandparents who lived in the city, they had like
Things.
stills and everything.
Yeah.
She made
The
these
whole point
grants.
Yeah.
is very light
I
and
think
covered.
this,
Yeah.
I think this committee's
Kind of
going
Indian.
to
Yeah.
require more of my time than.
But,
Cool.
It's a neat thing for us.
So consequently.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to send it to
Yeah,
you.
well, I'm sure she has a website.
Yeah, is it just available online or is it?
I'm gonna
So I'm
probably.
glad you're back.
So I bought a copy and I scanned it.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a copy at the library too.
I'll just go, I'll look at it at the library.
It is nicer in person. It's
Yeah.
very big, so it's very photogenic.
Yeah.
Take care.
You too?
Hi,
We need to
Jerry.
reduce that to 2 at least, 3 committees. So just, we're not letting you guys know that.
You like us when she's down?
Yes. You know, I think the hardest part is trying to learn, get everyone to talk, so I start to learn what they really mean. I think that's one of the biggest challenges, so.
As a
so
chair.
Getting everyone to start sharing their ideas is a pretty important element of that, and that's hard when you're in a big group.
Yeah.
It's hard to let your real self speak. Yeah, it's hard, man, I mean, it's not an easy thing.
Did you read Carol's article years ago? She wrote about being a chair of a board, and I thought it was very instructive when I was the chair of the Parks Board.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
Carol Whitaker. It's, I think the only article she wrote, or at least that I saw like in a public magazine. It was like planning. There's like some national planning magazine.
It was Carol Whitlock, the former,
Huh?
it was Carol Whitlock, right, the former,
Whitlock or Whitaker? I think it was Whitlock.
former.
Oh, yeah, Whitlock.
Yeah. The former chair of the planning commission.
Chair, planning commission, thank you, I was like, my brain's short circuiting.
Yeah.
No, this week has been a lot.
Have a nice one.
Bye.